So we have a problem as humans that prevents us from collaborating with each other really effectively in large groups. And this problem is that we have an overwhelming tendency to connect with people who are just like ourselves. Now, this is so well documented, and it's so extensive that it even has a name, homophily. Now, homophily becomes a real problem in organizations because most CEOs would agree that work is becoming more complex, projects are becoming more complex, and seamless integration across boundaries and the ability to access anybody in the organization who has expertise relative to your project is a very important element of success. And so what we need to do is achieve seamless integration across boundaries so that as businesses we can continue to have competitive advantage. Now, one of the ways that we can do this is through communities of practice. This is an organizational tool that groups experts according to a particular domain of knowledge and not the business units or geographies that they work in. And so as an example, for the past 3 years, we've been studying these communities of practice. And what I'm showing you here is a grouping of people who all work on process improvement. They've all been trained according to Six Sigma. They're all black belts and master black belts. And so even though they're in different geographies and in different operations, in theory, you can reach across and ask somebody about a process or a tool or a technique. Ideally, this would solve our problem that we have. It would get people to reach across boundaries and not just connect with others who are like them. But what we wanted to find out is, do some of these visible boundaries within organizations actually translate into patterns of knowledge sharing? And so we went out and we asked hundreds of people in multiple communities of practice who they share knowledge with on a regular basis. And we created these infographic maps. And what I've done on this is highlighted different boundary spanning connections between business units because unfortunately homophily has come into play again. And we see that in this structure that's intended to span across all boundaries, we get this translation of business unit boundaries into communities of practice. Now, at these interfaces that I've circled, we have people who are working specifically on projects together. And so what ends up happening is that the way that we span these boundaries within communities of practice happens when people are forced to span those boundaries. They're forced to span boundaries because they're working on projects together. They're forced to span boundaries because they're reporting to each other across different business units. And so the end lesson to walk away with here is that if you're running a business and what you want is seamless integration across business units, across geographies, or across disciplines, it's not going to happen organically. You have to shift people's patterns of working so that they connect by sitting on the same side of the table and working with one another on real problems. If you want more information on this, you can scan this QR code and go to the Voss Research website, which has our complete study and findings on it. Thank you.